Welcome back to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. My name is Gordy, and all this week I'm sharing weird animal facts that I have researched one bizarre creature a day. Today, the Candiru, also known as the vampire fish. It's tiny, it's translucent, and it's allegedly swum up a man's urethra. Right up the old urethra Franklin. Like and subscribe right now if you haven't, so you can keep up every single day. I do this every single day, and yesterday we talked about the vampire bat. Today we're talking about the vampire fish, also known as the Candiru, that little fish that supposedly swims up a urine stream and into the human body through the urethra. That's the wiener hole, folks, not to drown you with scientific jargon. Yeah, and though it's hard to imagine anything worse, it does get a little worse. So once it's in there, it anchors itself with backwards facing barbs and has to be surgically removed. That's the legend, at least. And it's burned into pop culture. I've even read about it in nonfiction books based on the Amazon rainforest. It's one of those things that, even if it's not totally verifiable, it can haunt you. The idea climbs up your stream of consciousness and it latches onto your brain with backwards facing barbs. But here's the thing. It is most likely, or most definitely most likely, not true. We'll get into it, okay? Most Candiru are only about a couple inches long, 1 to 2 inches long, most of them are, and they're no thicker than like a toothpick or like a strand of spaghetti, let's say. They're translucent, thin, practically invisible in water, which honestly to me makes this whole story sound more plausible. But there's only one documented case this urethra invasion happening. One. But I don't know, one is enough for me, honestly. I don't need two to, stay out of that water. But so the one documented case took place in 1997 in Brazil. A man claimed that the fish swam up his urethra while he urinated into the river. He said it sorry, it's hard for me to even just recount this one. He said it suddenly jumped out of the water and went straight in, like whew. A surgeon later removed the fish and published the case, but experts who reviewed the report noticed something off. The fish was too big to fit. The anatomy just didn't make sense, and the most damning of the evidence was that the removed fish was cut in half, making it impossible to verify how it actually got there. The fish was destroyed before it was able to be necropsied, because autopsies are for people. I think they're called necropsies for animals. Most ichthyologists, people that study fish, now agree that the story was likely embellished or just completely fabricated. I personally think we have a little bit of a Richard Gere situation. I know Richard Gere's, you can Google it. I know that really probably didn't happen to him, so sorry, Rich. But I think this young man was just a wee bit embarrassed. What were you doing with that fish, son? but yeah, by that point it didn't matter. All right, the myth had already gone global, and while that 1997 urethra case gets all the attention, older Amazonian accounts told of Candiru invading the hoo-haws. Sorry for the medical terminology, of women also bathing in the river. I don't know what words I can or can't say on these platforms without it being suppressed even. So I'm gonna go with these alternate terms. But these stories were even more common. Like the women were getting it too. But like the urethra myth, no medically verified cases have ever been documented. So the truth, though, I feel is just as weird, but maybe in a more like biologically accurate way. The Candiru, or Vendelia cirrhosa, is a tiny blood-feeding parasitic catfish native to the Amazon basin. And it doesn't target humans, really. It targets other fish, specifically their gills. Here's how it works. The Candiru lurks in murky water. It senses the chemical signature of another fish, likely ammonia or urea, leaking from the gills, and it darts in like a parasite. Those are the same chemicals that are found in urine, by the way, and pee. So then it locks in with its spine in the gills. It slices a hole in the gill tissue and drinks blood directly from the flow, hence the nickname vampire fish. It's fast, it's stealthy, it's translucent, and it can swim backwards too. So that part's all real. So are the barbs, the blood drinking, all that's real, but not necessarily the swimming up a urine stream into the urethra. Candiru are tiny. Some are as small just as a paperclip. Again, that is terrifying to me. I would be less terrified if they were as big as my hand. But yeah, you can't see them coming. You don't feel them latch on. You just bleed. So where did the urethra story come from? Well, it likely began with early European, or should I say you're not peeing, explorers and missionaries in the Amazon. They heard rumors from locals, and without fully understanding the biology, assumed that if Candiru were attracted to ammonia, that they might also go for urine, and add in a little fear, some colonial exaggeration, the most scary thing possible for most men, and boom, nature's most horrifying fish myth was born. But let's be clear. There is no scientific evidence that Candiru target urine streams. There's actually no evidence that specifically they go for urine streams, like the flow of it. Fish can't track a liquid midstream through open water. That's just not how diffusion works. Can't just be like, oh, it goes up through there now. And most locals, they pee in the river all the time, and no one gets attacked. And you would know about this. People would talk about this. But after thousands, millions of locals peeing in the river, you're not getting a lot of stories of them climbing up the stream. And in fact, if you asked a scientist today if a Candiru could physically swim up your urine into your urethra and barge its way in with vampire spines, you'd probably get a hard no. But I think that's why it's stuck, though. It's not just a parasite; it's a monster story. Essentially, it's one that combines our fear of the wild with our very real anatomical vulnerability. A very real anatomical vulnerability there. So the idea that a nearly invisible fish could exploit your most personal orifice, that's just something that humans never forget. So yeah, there you have it. The vampire fish of the Amazon is real. It drinks blood. It has spines. It's translucent. It will parasitize your gills if you're a fish. But if you're a human, you are not really its target. It probably didn't swim up that man's urethra, but it definitely swam deep into our imagination. Thank you to all my sources, which can be found in the YouTube description. Please rate, like, subscribe. Let me know if you have heard a differing perspective of this. If you feel like sharing it, it's very brave of you, very courageous. I'd love to know. We got more Animal Week coming all week long, so make sure you stay tuned. Check out the 1-minute version at Smartest Year Ever on all my social media platforms, or all the social media platforms that you may have. And in the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. I will see you tomorrow in the Smartest Year Ever.